The movie begins with Gwen going to visit Ben at his house and asking him if he'd gotten into contact with Tetrax or Xylene yet. He told her that he'd managed to contact Tetrax, but Xylene was off the grid and he couldn't contact her. Though he also added that sadly Tetrax hadn't responded to his messages yet, but he'd been waiting. As they were talking, the communications module Ben had hidden in his room began to flash, indicating someone was calling him, and so he'd hit the answer button, with it being Tetrax telling Ben they'd got their message, but they sadly couldn't help because they were handling the hybrid elsewhere. But they'd sent someone who was fresh from the Plumbers Academy, stating that he thought they'd make a good addition to his team, and to be careful because they'd have to find the creator of the Omnitrix to get it working again. Nodding, Ben agrees to that and asks if he knows where the creator is exactly, to which they say no, but there may be a way to track them. The new contact may be there soon to help, and they could hear more from them. After thanking Tetrax for the information, he questions how he'd know who to look for, but Tetrax says not to worry because they'd have a plumber's badge and are around his age, maybe a year or two older. Hearing that, Ben thanks Tetrax, who then ends the transmission, leaving Ben and Gwen wondering how exactly they were supposed to find the creator, and how exactly they were going to explain all this to their parents, but Ben says that they weren't, just to tell them that they needed to go see someone as it was extremely important and they should be back before the weekend is over. Nodding, Gwen says that she doesn't like lying to her parents, though Ben says it's not a lie. It's just not going into detail with the truth, making her raise an eyebrow and ask him if he did that a lot, which he stated, not often. The two pack light. Well, Ben does anyway. Gwen has a magic bag thanks to all that training she's had over the years. Though she usually left it at home, they later try to figure out who exactly was supposed to pick them up after telling their parents what they needed, and while going to Mr. Smoothie's, they see a dark-haired guy, maybe a year or two older than Ben, who'd been acting kinda weird, trying to talk to people and holding up something, only for the people to just look at him confused, getting him frustrated. Ben questions if Gwen thought that was the guy, and she says that it might be, as they then get up from the table and walk over asking the dark-haired guy what he was doing there. The dark-haired individual then told them he was looking for someone and said it was official business, holding up a plumber badge, which Ben and Gwen recognized, and asked if he was the contact they'd been waiting on. Looking relieved, the guy then says that his name is Kevin and that he was sent by Tetrax to help Ben Tennyson to find the creator of the Omnitrix. Ben then introduces himself and Gwen, stating that they were the ones he'd been sent to find, and then asked if he knew how exactly they were supposed to find the creator. Sadly, he'd stated that he didn't, but he did know how to find out, and that they needed to get back to the ship to do that. Nodding, the two said they were already packed and ready, so they could just get going. Kevin says that'd save some time, as he began to lead the way with a girl in a pink shirt following them from a distance. It was Julie, and she'd looked intrigued and not understanding what was going on, but thinking that whatever it was would be interesting to see. We get Kevin leading the two out to a heavily wooded area that not a lot of people would notice, with Julie wondering just what they were up to, and looking surprised as the cloaking device on the ship was deactivated, allowing them to see it was a modified plumber ship, and the hatch then opened up. Julie whispers to herself about how crazy that was while trying to get her phone out to record what was going on, as the three then got on the ship with the hatch closing. By the time she'd unlocked her phone and gotten set up to record, the ship was already taking off and barely noticeable by her camera as she tried to record it flying away. We see Ben walking around on the ship asking Kevin how exactly they'd be able to find the creator of the watch, which Kevin then responds to, stating, the Omnitrix has a DNA biosignature on it, sort of like an autograph. We can track them using it, while starting up some device that was on the ship. So we're using that device to find the signature and using it as a keyed-in DNA tracking signal to hunt them down? Ben questions as Gwen gives him a funny look, with him then stating, I know things, with Gwen shaking her head and Kevin telling them that that was correct and to put the watch onto the scanner. With a nod, Ben does so, after which the device does a scan and Kevin begins to cycle through a holographic scan that was floating in midair trying to find it, but not having much luck. He asked Ben if he'd had any idea, and Ben tells them maybe there was an engraving on the back or something. nothing. After putting the hologram of the watch back together, he does a deeper scan on the back of it, finding what they were looking for and telling them to strap in, because they now had the signal and could track them down. We then see a hybrid looking at a DN alien that was approaching them and asked what they wanted, calling them a half-breed vermin as they did so. And they apologized for having to approach, but tells them that Ben has left the planet and that the rumors are that we're going to find Azimuth to fix the Omnitrix.